Oh, that's okay. I actually thought maybe I had brought that with me. I had a pile of papers. Whoa. What happened here? Hold on. Stop.
Here we go.
Oh, I got to cancel out of it. No, it'll come up. Yep.
Here we go. Okay. Now we can go.
It's 51. It's 51. Right?
163.
Oh, is that
Sing along.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we like to say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Great to have all of you here this morning. I want to begin, as we do each Sunday, by fully embracing all that you bring with you to this place, all of your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, all that make you who you are, is welcome here this morning. And as always, this includes those who hear me say this from the pulpit each Sunday, as well as those who might be hearing it more recently or even for the first time this morning. You're equally is welcome and equally is appreciated. And this includes those of you who are streaming with us. We're also grateful to know that you're joining us. So thank you all for being here. Before we greet one another, I did want to just make a couple of comments about some of the events that took place this week, particularly on Tuesday. I think overall, if you're a progressive person, a liberal person, you probably feel pretty good. Some real signs of hope and life took place this week. Hopefully a trend that will steer our society back in a more loving direction than it is now. I, of course, would acknowledge that Proposition 2 did not pass, but some pretty interesting things happened around that also give me lots of hope. One, all in all, the railroad spent about $500,000 to defeat this, about $250,000 in positive advertising for themselves and a $250,000 in negative advertising on this proposition. And compared to the less than $7,000 we were able to spend to get still get 42% of the vote, particularly, particularly from people in the downtown area and people who live near the railroad tracks who really know what a danger this presents, on not much more than a word-of-mouth campaign. So even that gives me hope that we have a really strong base, and probably bigger than a base, to continue doing this work. And Brian Beggs, the author of Proposition 2, for those who don't know, which would have fined coal companies for not covering their trains before bringing them through our community, and oil companies for not treating the Balkan crude for its flammability, would have fined them until they did so. But anyway, Brian, has been reelected, and now that there is a Democratic majority in our state, is really promising to take this same sort of initiative on a statewide level. So we will move forward from here. Yeah. So down but not out, right, Jim? Please do take a few moments to greet one another, and as always, say hi to some folks you don't know. And if you're joining us for the first time, please don't be shy, because we're very glad you're here. Thank you, and let's move forward with our for those who aren't regulars, I should let you know we do have social hour immediately following our service. So I want to invite you to stick around for more conversation immediately following, and continue the great conversation and fellowship. And there's also hot coffee and tea too. But we are now going to move forward with our service by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world, and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening words this morning are from the poet Wendell Berry. Again, I resume the long lesson. How small a thing can be pleasing. How little in this hard world it takes to satisfy the mind and bring it to its rest. Within the ongoing havoc, the woods this morning is almost unnaturally still. Through stalled air, unshadowed light, a few leaves fall of their own weight. The sky is gray. It begins in mist almost at the ground and rises forever. The trees rise in silence, almost natural, but not quite. Almost eternal, but not quite. What more did I think I wanted? Here is what has always been. Here is what will always be. Even in me, the maker of all this returns in rest, even to the slightest of his works. A yellow leaf slowly falling, and is pleased.
Our first hymn of the day is a beautiful one, Lady of the Season's Laughter. The words are by Unitarian Universalist minister Kendall Gibbons. And this hymn contains beautiful imagery of the divine feminine. Please rise as you're willing and able to sing Lady of the Season's Laughter.
Okay, it is time for our story of all ages, so if you are of any age at all, you may come forward and join us in the front of the service. And while you guys are coming forward, as usual, I brought a friend to help, so I'm going to go into the magical vortex underneath the pulpit and call one of my friends forward, okay? Have just a moment of patience with me. Will you do that? There you are. Can you hear me okay? Well, how many of you know who I am? Yes. The big bad wolf? No way. I'm the good wolf. This is the story of the good little wolf and the 3 bad pigs. So let me tell you. So it all starts once upon a time. There was a wolf named me. And I got my first job working for the WPA, the Woodland Protection Agency. It was my job to take care of the forest, which wasn't too bad because everybody enjoyed the forest and it pretty much took care of itself. Until one day, 3 greedy little pigs decide to start a construction company. And they're going to build houses out of straw. They built houses so expensive that the only ones who could afford them were other pigs, members of the POP, the Pigs Only Party. Before long, some of the animals in the forest start complaining to me. They say, hey, there's no straw left for the birds to build nests. There's no straw left to grow the grain for some of the animals to eat. There's no straw to grow the grass high enough for the bugs to hide and hunt in. So I decide I'm going to go to Tri Swine corporate headquarters and talk to the 3 pigs myself. When I show up, it turns out they built their headquarters out of straw. I knock on the door. Greedy pigs, let me come in. And the security guard comes out and says, go away, get out of here, you're trespassing. Well, I start to walk away in a huff. When all of a sudden the wind kicks up and puff, blows the headquarters down. I see the pigs running off squealing and I think, serves them right. Maybe they learned a valuable lesson about taking everything for themselves. But oh no, wouldn't you know it, the pigs decide they're going to start building houses out of wood. They build houses so expensive that the only ones who could afford them were the top 10% of pigs. Members of the POP, the Pigs Only Party. Before long, the other animals come and start complaining. Hey, the pigs are hogging up all the wood. They're cutting down the trees. There's not enough trees for the birds to build their nest even if they had the straw. There's not enough acorns for the squirrels to eat or berry to grow more trees. There's not even enough trees to shade anyone from the hot sun. So I decide I'm going back to Tri Swine corporate headquarters and personally talk to the pigs myself about the matter. When I get there, it turns out they've rebuilt their headquarters out of wood. So I knock on the wood door. The security guard, I say, of course, greedy pigs, let me come in. The security guard comes out, and you know what he says? I told you to go away, get out of here, and don't come back again. I start to walk away in a huff. The wind kicks up and puff, blows the headquarters down. The pigs run out squealing, and I think, okay, this time they got to know you can't take everything for yourself. You know what they did? They decided they want to start building houses out of bricks. They build houses so nice, so expensive, that only the top 1% of 1% can afford them. Members of the POP, the Pigs Only Party. So, they start complaining to me that the pigs are turning the whole forest into a wasteland. They're digging big holes to get enough dirt to make bricks. They're tearing down mountains to get enough dirt to make bricks. And without the trees, without the straw, when it rains, it turns the whole thing into nothing but a big muddy mess that only the pigs and the hogs can enjoy. So I decide I'm going to go back to Tri Swine corporate headquarters and talk to the pigs personally about the matter myself. When I go back, you know what they've done? They've rebuilt the entire headquarters out of bricks. So I knock on the brick door. Greedy pigs, let me come in. And they send out the security guard who says, Ogway, away, hey, or don't you understand pig Latin? So I start to walk away in a huff when suddenly the wind kicks up and puff,
Nothing happens. Brick headquarters are still standing. And again, a wind kicks up and puff. But nothing happens again. Headquarters is still standing. And one more time, a mighty wind comes up, puff. But the brick headquarters is solid. I'm about to walk away, not knowing what to do, but you know what? By then, everything had gotten so hot and so dry on account of them cutting down the forest, turning everything to a wasteland, that the headquarters catch fire. I hear the pigs inside squealing. I pound on the door, but it's still locked. I got no choice but to climb up on the roof and slip down the chimney. Once there, I break out a window. I pull the pigs and the security guard out to safety. And they were so happy to be alive that they finally decided to listen to me. And once they looked around and saw all the devastation that they had caused from their greed, they decided to take all that money they've been making selling houses to start restoring the forest. It took a long time. Together, we were able to grow straw again, plant more trees, fill in the holes, and make mountains. From that day forward, nobody was allowed to hog everything up for themselves again. And all the creatures of the forest lived happily ever after.
We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this church and all of its creatures.
Thank you all so much. That was beautiful. Seriously, if you can take me seriously. If you can still take me seriously. We do want to kindle our candles of care, as always, for those who are most on our hearts and minds. And I want to begin with a candle for one of our church members, Eleanor Beaton, as well as her son, John, and daughter-in-law, Barbara Beaton, and your entire family. Eleanor is under hospice care and is really in the last days of life at this time. So we're thinking of her and, of course, her entire family. Also want to kindle a candle for everyone impacted by the, I don't know who wasn't, but certainly the most devastated by the shootings in Texas last Sunday. Hate to keep getting up here and lighting candles for people who are victims of mass shootings, but we need to at least do that. Hopefully we can do more. Let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others, and as always, you'd be welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion.
This is the time in our service where we take a few moments for silent meditation, so I invite you to get yourselves comfortable as you wish. The words to take us into meditation this morning are a poem by Mary Oliver called I Want. I want to be in partnership with the universe, like the tiger lily, poking up its gorgeous head among the so-called useless weeds in the uncultivated fields that still abide. But it's okay if, after all, I'm not a lily, but only grass, in a clutch of curly grass, waving in the wind, staring sunward. One of those sweet, abrasive blades. My reading today is from Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov. Love all creation, the whole of every grain of sand in it. Love every leaf and every ray of light. Love the plants. Love the animals. Love everything. If you love everything, you will perceive the divine mystery in all things. Once you perceive it, you will comprehend it better every day,
and you will come at last to love the whole world with an all-embracing love.
Something told the wild geese it was time to go. Though the fields lay golden, something whispered snow, whispered snow. These were reassuring, there is lost their lost, but beneath warm feathers, something caution, something caution. Something told the wild geese it was time to fly. Summer sun was on their wings. Winter, winter, winter in their
Thank you all again so much. Beautiful music, especially for today. Speaking in a Hoboken wolf's voice, an octave higher than usual, really puts a strain on the voice. So almost 15 years ago to the day, I heard the nation's high priest of the status quo, the fundamentalist preacher and co-founder of the Moral Majority, Jerry Falwell, in an unforgettable interview about global warming on CNN. It was global cooling 30 years ago, he scoffed, and it's global warming now. And neither of us will be here 100 years from now to know what it is, but I can tell you our grandchildren will laugh at those who predicted global warming. We'll be cooler then if the Lord hasn't returned. The fact is, there is no global warming. He then called global warming a myth, bragged about driving a GM Suburban, and concluded by arguing that everyone ought to go out and buy an SUV today. Though he's now presumably sitting on a cloud singing praises to God for all eternity, which honestly sounds like hell. Falwell's troubling beliefs about humanity's relationship with the environment are still shared by many. These beliefs derive from the very real and widespread myth of anthropocentrism, based on an interpretation of the Genesis story that places humanity as both the center and the pinnacle of creation. As the only creature made in the image and likeness of the gods, because that's how they refer to themselves in this story, as the gods, as we. According to it, our very purpose, according to these creators, is to fill the earth and subdue it, and to have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. Among theologians, this is known as the dominion mandate, which some interpret to mean that humans are commanded from the start to control and to exploit nature, that it belongs to us. While others argue that it's really based on a bad translation of a couple of ancient Hebrew words. For if it means that we have the inherent right and duty to dominate all of nature, why does the story immediately contradict itself by forbidding us the right to eat from the tree of knowledge and restricting our right to the tree of life? If we have been commanded to dominate all living things, how can the very next command we are given restrict us from doing so? This contradiction is one of the reasons that some think the Hebrew word that we translate as dominion into English, radah, which more literally translates tread down upon, could mean that human beings were created, according to this myth, to walk the earth gently, caring for and being responsible for the earth and all living things. Made in the image and likeness of our creators, we give the gods the opportunity to incarnate, to embody themselves upon the earth through us. Given that most of the words that we have for human, humus, pueblo, Adam, all mean earth, it makes more sense, at least to me, that our purpose, as imagined by this Hebrew myth, is to live like embodied gods, treading humbly upon the earth, caring for the environment and enjoying it. But whatever its original meaning really doesn't matter, given that it's just a 3,000-year-old myth that a small group of people once invented to help explain their purpose in the world. Any rational and enlightened view of the world cannot accept such accounts as history or as science. The use of the dominion mandate to justify our exploitation of the earth and her natural resources, furthermore, ignores a treasure trove of biblical material that calls upon us to cherish the earth and to be inspired by her. The mistake so many make, unfortunately, is viewing the Bible as just that, as a cohesive book with a beginning, a middle, and an end. The Bible, rather, as some of you have heard me say before, is a collection of various writings from different authors, written, edited, and rewritten over a period of more than 1,000 years. Since Bible means book, it would be more accurate to call this ensemble of ancient transcripts a binder, or the binder. In seeing it canonically as a cohesive book, many feel that they need find only one part, just one verse even, as all the justification they need to support any view that they have. Seeing it as a binder, as a collection of ancient writings, on the other hand, requires us to admit that it represents many different, sometimes contradictory views and ideas. The story of Genesis, for instance, may well suggest that we have every right to exploit and destroy our planet, but there are many contradictory writings in the Bible that suggest we most certainly do not. Biblical scholars even have a name for this special category of writings. It's called wisdom literature. They call it this rather than something else like nature literature or earth writings, because Hakmah, the Jewish or Hebrew word translated as wisdom into English, is more akin to what we mean these days, or in our culture, by the term Mother Nature. For the ancient Hebrews, wisdom referred to the feminine manifestation of God through nature. Wisdom was a physical, tangible reality for them. And this, I think, is the meaning of stories like the story of Moses asking to see what Yahweh looks like. After explaining that it's not possible for humans to fully comprehend God, Yahweh turns around and shows Moses his rear end. Right? Remember that? He mooned Moses. And I'm not just being cute. I think this is the point of the story. I think it's a humorous, whimsical way for the writers of that story to suggest that though we cannot grasp the fully divine, we can see what it leaves behind. We can experience the divine through the beauty of nature and the blessed reality of our physical condition and our sensual experiences. How often do you hear that in church? So the point not to be missed is that having wisdom, just as with being human, requires us to tread upon the earth, to cherish and to appreciate our physical existence. Nowadays, we tend to equate wisdom with thoughts and reason, with mental constructs composed of ideas and words in our heads. But even the Greek word for philosophy, philosophia, meaning the love of wisdom, is the phileo of Sophia, another feminine name, wisdom. So the original meaning of wisdom, at least for our ancestors, had to do with physics, not spirits. With Hakma, with Sophia, or with Mater, the Greek word that means both mother and matter. Mother, matter. Mother, matter. Or as we say, Mother Nature. The divine incarnate. The sacredness embodied. The invisible made beautiful in the cloak of creation. In the book of Proverbs, upon establishing her gender, by asking, does not wisdom call and does not understanding raise her voice? Lady Wisdom, God's companion and lover, speaks for herself. The Lord created me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of long ago. Ages ago I was set up as the first. Before the beginning of the earth, when he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, when he made firm the skies above, when he established the fountains of the deep, when he assigned the sea its limit, so that the waters might not transgress his commands, when he marked out the foundations of the earth, and then I was beside him like a master worker, and I was daily in his delight, rejoicing before him always, rejoicing in the inhabited world, and delighting in the human race. How often do you hear that in church? Like a womb giving birth to all that is, wisdom claims her place at the beginning of all that is at the beginning of life, the mother of everything real, the earth, the sky, the rivers, the sea, and all beings, including human beings, which she calls delightful. Wisdom literature praises creation and does not view it, like many do, as a fallen, sinful, and shameful world. As is written in the Jewish book of wisdom, she is the breath and power of God, and a pure emanation of the glory of the Almighty. Therefore, nothing defiled gains entrance into her, for she is a reflection of eternal light, a spotless mirror of the working of God, and an image of his goodness. Mother Matter, the image of goodness. Thus, reflecting upon the anthropocentric view of creation in which humanity has been given a domination mandate, theologian Matthew Fox, the founder of creation spirituality, says, I deny the prominence that the Western Church has given to original sin. It has fed this anthropocentrism. It is so egoistic to think that religious experience begins with our sins. I believe it begins with awe and wonder. It was such awe and wonder of the natural world that inspired the authors responsible for so much of the wisdom literature in this collection of works we call the Bible. In the Hebrew Scriptures, these works include Proverbs in the Book of Wisdom, as we have seen, as well as Psalms, Song of Songs, and Ecclesiastes. Of these, perhaps none is more earthy than the poetic Song of Songs, celebrating the erotic love and passion between two lovers. The Jews traditionally see it as a metaphor of the love between Yahweh and Israel, but it could as easily be a metaphor of the love between Yahweh and Lady Wisdom, between heaven and earth. The beams of our houses are cedars, the rafters are firs, he says. I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys, she says. Look, here he comes, leaping across the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle, a young stag. To which he replies, my dove in the cleft of the rock, in the hiding places of the mountainside, show me your voice. Let me hear your voice. Although Ecclesiastes, upon which the Pete Seeger song Turn, Turn, Turn is based, deals as much with the suffering of life as it does its awe and wonder, its famous existential angst that everything is meaningless is based upon what its author experienced in nature. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes accepts the reality of both love and hate, of war and peace, of work and harvest, of laughter and tears, and yet somehow in the end says that it's all beautiful and that everyone should eat and drink and enjoy all the good that comes from our struggling. Such resignation toward the harsh realities of life and the ability to find beauty and joy in the meaninglessness of it all anyway comes not from discovering an abstract philosophical idea, not from searching above for some high-minded idea, but by becoming down to earth, from treading down upon it and finding wisdom in Mother Nature. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens, the author says. Psalms also seems to be an attempt to cope with the harsh realities and uncertainties of life, mostly by singing praises to God in exchange for protection from evil and victory over one's enemies. The Psalms focus a lot on heaven and upon God's powers and greatness, and doesn't use as many of the nature metaphors as a lot of other wisdom literature does. Yet again, these Psalms are ultimately about dealing with this life, about feeling safe and secure even in seasons of hate and war and struggle and tears. Yet at its best, when we're under the care and protection of the Psalter's great and powerful God, we feel unafraid and content because in one of the most cherished Psalms ever, we feel surrounded and comforted by Mother Nature. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters that restore my soul. He guides me along good paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest of valleys, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Because these writings make use of proverbs and parables, those rabbis who spoke in proverbs and parables were considered wisdom teachers. And no one mentioned in the entire Bible is better known to have used proverbs and parables than Jesus in the Christian Gospels. Not only is this true, but so much of what he is reported to have said seems to have been inspired directly by Mother Nature and her children, by Lady Wisdom and her creatures. In Mark, the oldest of the four Gospels, for example, Jesus is said to have begun his ministry by going out into the wilderness with the wild animals for more than a month. For some, this may seem like an ascetic experience by which he tried to deprive himself of physical, sensual comforts, but it could have as easily been an aesthetic experience, full immersion into the sensual world around him, through which he sought inspiration from the animals and the rest of nature, seeking communion with the Creator through the creation. To Mother Nature, Lady Wisdom, the womb of life. This makes a lot more sense to me, given the kind of metaphors and allegories his teachings draw upon. For when he returned from the wilderness, he didn't talk about lack or sacrifice or suffering, did he? He talked about the great wealth surrounding us all. I came that you may have life, he said, and have it abundantly. So all those pro-life folks need to talk about being pro-abundancy, pro-abundant life. And said we don't have to worry about the future because there's plenty enough to go around for everyone. All we need to ask for is enough for today. We need to live sustainably by asking enough to have our daily bread. And why did he come to believe this is so? How can we trust that he was right? Because during his rebirth in the wilderness, he learned from the animals. Look at the birds of the air. Consider the lilies of the field. The birds do not sow, harvest, nor store away, yet they are fed. The flowers do not toil or spin, yet they are clothed. Speaking of himself, he said, foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but this Son of Man, this child of the human race, this human being has nowhere to lay his head. Jesus was homeless, penniless, and had nothing but the clothes on his back, yet he operated from a mindset of abundance rather than of poverty. He considered himself rich and looked upon those who store treasure in barns and banks as impoverished in both body and soul. Jesus' wisdom teachings, his parables and proverbs are filled with creation metaphors. How are we to recognize genuine teachers, for example? You will know them by their fruits, he said. Are grapes gathered from thorns? Are figs from thistles? In the same way, every good tree bears good fruit, but every bad tree bears bad fruit. His parable of the sower tells of a man who scatters seed, some of which falls on the path and is eaten immediately by birds, some of which falls on rocky ground where there isn't much soil and grows quickly, but is easily scorched by the sun. Some of which falls among thorns and is choked out when it grows, and some that falls upon good soil and bears much fruit and much grain. Whatever else this might mean, it's clear that Jesus was inspired by nature and saw the ground, the earth, as a good and necessary for sustaining life. His time in the wilderness didn't make him feel afraid or destitute, but alive and enriched. So he didn't preach about sin and damnation. He didn't tell his followers, sin is within you, did he? He said, heaven is within you. God is within you. And it is because of this innate goodness that we have not the promise that we will go to heaven, but the power to establish heaven here on earth. No wonder his wisdom went on to inspire subsequent Christian mystics to also seek divine inspiration by turning to the sensual, physical world, seeking the Creator in the creation, in the here and now, not the sweet by and by. Meister Eckhart said, every creature is a word of God in a book about God. Nature was his Bible. Hildegard of Bingen said, the Word manifests itself in every creature. Nature was her Bible. Mechtild of Magdeburg said, the truly wise person kneels at the feet of all creatures because nature was her Bible. And an old rabbinic saying goes, creation is the infinite in the garb of the finite. To attend to creation is to attend to God. After St. John of the Cross escaped prison, he also retreated into the wilds in search of that one burning in my heart, he wrote, as if composing a new song of songs for some divine lover. O forest and woods, seated by the hand of the beloved, O green meadows, framed with flowers, did he pass through you? In her classic book on mysticism, Evelyn Underhill says, the flowery garment of the world is for some mystics a medium of ineffable perception, a source of exalted joy, the veritable clothing of God. For the mystic, she says, the uncreated light manifests itself through created things. So no, whatever the Genesis story meant by having dominion over and subduing the earth, it is outweighed by the wisdom literature in the collection of writings we call the Bible. For anyone to use this single verse to justify our continued disregard for nature and destruction of our planet, to disdain Lady Wisdom, to injure Mother Nature, to defile the creation in the name of its very Creator is inexcusable. But we need not be Jewish or Christian, nor read the Bible to find the kind of inspiration that Jesus discovered. Like him, we need only turn to the same source of wisdom for ourselves, to nature, to the beauty and abundance all around us, to fall in love with the earth and to feel her love for us, to long for her health and wellness with the passion of a lover and the devotion of a child. For whether we are religious or secular, believers or atheist, Christians or humanist, we are all children of our mother, the earth. May we tread gently upon her. Thank you.
Well, we're going to sing these truths this morning, and the song is The Sound of Music. So please rise as you're willing and able to sing with me The Sound of Music.
With songs they have sung for 1,000 years.
like the wings of the birds that rise from the lakes to the trees. My heart wants to sigh like a chime that flies from a church on a breeze, to laugh like a brook when it trips and falls over stones on its way, to sing through the night like a lark who is learning to pray. I go to the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once
Our benediction this morning comes from the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth in the present moment, to appreciate the peace and beauty that are available now. Amen. Blessed be. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.